Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Real again. I just want to make a real brief video while I had the chance because the baby's napping. And I wanted to talk about rekindling your sex or your love life after having a baby. Yeah, I think that's very important. Um, I just to talk about myself very briefly. I had a vaginal birth with the midwife, no complications, no stitches or sutures or anything like that were needed. And I breastfed. So after the standard like 6 to 8 weeks that they give you, when I went back to my midwife, she said everything was fine, and that if I wanted to begin to have sex, that I could. But of course, I had been breastfeeding, so I don't know if anybody who nurses knows this. When you're nursing, it's releasing so much serotonin and oxytocin that the desire that you would normally have to have sex, it goes down dramatically. Um, and I read this in books by Ina May Gaskin. She talks about the lack of sex drive after baby, and a lot of women, especially if they're nursing, because those kind of needs are being met at the breast. Not to say that breastfeeding is a sexual thing, but it's a hormone that your body releases when you enjoy something, and those are oxytocins and those are serotonins, and that's the hormone that you release when you have an orgasm, or when you're kissing, or when you're in love. It also is the hormones that helps you open up when you're about to deliver or give birth. So I was breastfeeding nonstop, and the house was a disaster. I didn't have a lot of help, so the last thing I was thinking about was let me sex my husband up, today. I just did not feel desirable. And he hadn't had sex in a while because my ninth month, I was so big in the front, and the baby was sitting like right on my bladder. And so, no kind of sex. Me on top, him from the back was happening. I just was not. I was just ready to have the baby. Don't touch me. Let's just not even worry about any sex. And he was fine because he saw that I looked like I was gonna explode. Like I looked like if you poked me, I would pop. And so he was very understanding in that perspective. Um, but so that was the ninth month. That the whole ninth month we didn't do anything. So that's already 4 weeks. Then you add the 6 to 8 weeks that they tell you standardly to wait before you resume any sex. So by that time, he literally hadn't had sex in about 12 weeks. And that is 3 months of no sex. And we've been together for quite some time. I think that's the longest time we had not had sex. And I still wasn't like, you know, come and sex me. Because again, I was breastfeeding. So I remember when we did finally have sex, it was extremely awkward. I had to hurry up. I got the baby to bed. This is before she was on the schedule. And we had sex. And the wetness that I usually have had dissipated. And I was expecting the sex to be funny because you have the baby. But it's so much kegel squeezing, and it's so much because I was remembering to do my kegels, and plus I was breastfeeding, so it was closing up my cervix and bringing up my uterus, and so it was super tight, which was funny because I had just pushed out a baby, and so it wasn't. Long story short, basically, long story short, and it wasn't enjoyable, and then I understood his frustration because the house is very tense. We have a very, if you've seen any of my previous videos, she was very intense. She cried a lot. And so we needed both some relief. And the relief needed to be affection and needed to be sex. Because was something that we both enjoyed and we didn't want to lose. And so, this is why I stress putting a baby on a schedule, because once you put them to bed very early in the afternoon, she'll sleep for a stretch of an hour. So if he's not at work or he has a day off, or he has lunch break. He can come home for a lunch break, and you can make love then, or if you put the baby to bed between the hours of 6 and 8, you're a grown up. You're still up. You still have time all night long to do that and make it a priority. I think some women get so wrapped up in the things of motherhood, like I was. You want to nurse and keep your milk supply up. You want to clean up. You want to cook. You want to do all these things. But if he's willing to help you with those things, do a load of laundry, throw the dishes in the dishwashers for you, bring home some takeout rather than you cook that night. He has to be serious about helping you out so you can make the sex thing happen as well. Um, and just a tidbit about the breastfeeding and the dryness that I experienced. I think people underestimate the power of natural lubricants. A lot of people go immediately for the KY jellies and the things of that nature, and they don't feel natural. They feel like oily. And the best lubricant, and I got this from an Ina May Gaskin book. Um, Basically, the best lubricant that I found has been virgin organic coconut oil that we get from Trader Joe's. That was the best lubricant that we had and that we used, and it's fantabulous. So for all you nursing mothers out there that's experiencing some dryness, get you some virgin organic coconut oil. And coconut oil has all these antibacterial and antifungal qualities. So it's not like you're going to get something by using it. Basically, you will be fighting those things. You won't have to worry about any bacteria, vaginosis, or any yeast infections, dealing with that. So he lubes himself up, and it melts at skin temperature. Immediately as you touch it, it starts to melt. He lubes himself up, you lube yourself up, and you guys can enjoy sex. Um, that was one of the concerns that we had. Another concern was about me being able to climax. And I'm not sure if other women know that, but you have a harder time climaxing if your kegels are not as strong. Um, and so what I did was I made it my business to do kegels all day long. And it's like right now, because I'm talking about it, I'm doing them. You basically the same muscle that you would use to stop your pee. You use those to tighten up the kegels. And the tighter and the stronger the pelvic wall is, the more likely and the more intense the orgasm. And so I got my good lube, I did my good kegels, I made sure we had the time set aside. He helped me out at the house, and we were able to rekindle our sex life. And it's actually better now than it was before we had the baby because we kind of got to wait, and we can't have each other the way that we want each other immediately like we used to. And so it builds up the intensity. So by the time we finally do it, we want to just rip each other's clothes and skin off. And it makes for a very good love making. So make it a priority, ladies. Um, Even if you got to help your sister, have your sister come over and help you clean up one day and surprise him with some sex and have all those things ready for him. Or if he's serious about it, tell him, look, help me out with this, and tonight I'll rock your world. Do those things. And so I hope this helps somebody. I hope, you're encouraged to make some love even though you have a baby. Don't let that stop you from being sexual with your man. At first I did, my poor husband. But now, and then things like checking in with each other, sending nasty texts. I did. I'm not going to say specifically what I said in my text, but, I would tell him, by the time you get home, she's going to be asleep, and I'm going to flip you off. And he get home ASAP. And so, things of that nature. Try to keep your sex life spicy. because I find that with new parents, that's one of the things that's the first thing to dissipate. And you want to make sure that you're affectionate with one another. Okay? I hope that helps everybody. And I hope you have a lovely weekend. Peace and blessings.